So we changed the power steering pump and we're pretty sure that it's got a bad gearbox and that pitman arm is like 10 feet long. We've got an F350 steering box that we're gonna try to retrofit in here and hopefully make this steering work.
I think we'll get it to work until it don't.
That is true.
I got the coolant already draining out of the radiator because I have to pull the radiator so that way it's out of our way and we have a clear shot to the gearbox and not have to have small little holes like this to work on it. We can go right through the front and access it. But in order to pull the radiator, I have to pull the supercharger intercooler and the supercharger has to come off. Okay, in order to get the intercooler pulled off, I have to undo 2 hose clamps, this one and that one. And then there's 2 bolts, Allen head bolts underneath that secure it in place. The Allen head bolts pulled. Okay, so we got the intercooler off. Now I'm gonna work on getting the Pro Charger off. Last bolt. Now it's coming off. Okay, now that I got the intercooler and Pro Charger out of the way, I am now working on getting the radiator out of the way. Okay, so now the next step is to get the gearbox all pulled out and get the other one fitted in place. I gotta get all of the oil and grease scraped off. That way we can actually see what we're working with. We might be moving to where the gearbox mounts, instead of being up in here, move it towards out here a little bit more.
All right, so we ordered this used gearbox from the wrecking yard, but we're not gonna use it. I just called Napa and got a new one because it's got a spot where it's locking up. The whole reason we're changing this is because it's all locking up and we need steering that actually works. We're gonna be taking this back to Hanging Tree Trail and trying to redeem well, actually not even redeem. What would you call it? Because it kicked some butt before, but now we just wanna go and play.
Beat its high point.
We want to go beat its high point. So we've got to get a steering box on it so we can get all the radiator and everything back in it. Napa's going to be delivering us a new gearbox. We're going to hold it up in there and try to figure out where the best option is going to be to where we don't have to extend this pitman arm.
Of course.
So I think what we're going to have to do is actually slide that gearbox down and forward just a little bit. That way it clears the lower hose of the radiator and we can get the correct angle on the steering shaft, so that we can get full turning radius out of this thing. So once we get this cleaned up, Hillbilly, we should probably just cut it out over here, actually slide it down and over and just remodify it back in. All right, so this came from our friend Rudy, Rudy's Adventure and Design. This is a Toyota box and it goes on the outside of the frame and the pitman arm goes forward. So I just don't see any way of making this one work. So what I'm thinking is that we're gonna go outside and we're gonna try to get our JK gearbox because the JKs actually go on the inside and they go forward and they're flat. So if we can make that one work, I think it'll be a much simpler solution. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's a Volkswagen trike.
That is an original Ed Big Daddy Roth fiberglass trike body. It's very rare and we're gonna build that thing one day.
We're trying to find the JK steering box, trying to find out what options we have to work with. The less modifications we have to do is going to be the better, so we're trying to figure out what that one's going to be. If it's going to be the F350 box, JK box, Land Cruiser box, we don't know yet. We're trying to find the JK box to find out.
It's the JK. That's what we're looking for. All right, so Hillbilly found the JK steering box. So we're gonna go see if we can modify it and make it work on the Bronco. That might work. All right, so when I talk about Hanging Tree Trail, now this is a trail that the locals created that is not on any form of map. With the help of Onyx Off-Road, we're gonna be downloading our offline maps, and I'm gonna be making what we like to call a cookie crumb trail. Now this is something that you don't get with another app. It's actually gonna track us all the way out, and it's gonna show it on an offline map, and that goes into a folder in which we can share with you guys. So if we get enough interest, and if we can get 300 of you to download this app, we're gonna be putting out a QR code sharing the map, so that when we go on Hanging Tree Trail with this, you guys can follow along on our adventure. You can see waypoints, you can see where we went, we can add photos of our favorite spots along the way and along the trail, so you guys can actually see what it's like on this trail, where we're headed, and be able to come along with us through the Onyx Off-Road app. So anywhere that your phone can get GPS, you're gonna be able to track yourself. You can drop waypoints, you can take pictures, you can do all sorts of things. Onyx Off-Road is gonna be offering 20% off by clicking the link in the description, heading over, downloading the app, and if we get enough interest, next week when we take this bad boy out on Hanging Tree Trail, we're gonna track the entire adventure, and we're gonna put a QR code up and we're gonna share that with you guys. Download the app, get online, and we're gonna share our adventure with you.
What happens if we don't make it up the trail?
Actually, that's a good point. So we should probably go see if we can even get up the trail, because with the runoff this year, hanging tree trail may not even be an option. Actually, we'll go on a recon mission. Make sure you go check out this video from last Friday to see if we even made it to hanging tree trail. By clicking the link in the description, you're gonna save 20% on your year membership. So don't wait. Click the link in the description, this QR code, or use code Layton20 at checkout, and you're gonna save yourself 20% off your 1-year membership for Onyx Off-Road. We've got a lot of stuff to get done on this Bronco Star, so we need to get back to work so we can get this thing trail ready, because without a steering gearbox, without a radiator, without this thing reinforced, it's not going anywhere. Okay, so we've got the JK box that I think we're gonna make work. Obviously, we're gonna have to cut and splice and weld and modify, but I think we're gonna be able to make it
Hey,
work.
Robby, show me one thing that's not been cut and spliced.
Oh yeah, no,
and welded
absolutely. We're gonna end up cutting and modifying that strut tower too, but that's fine. We'll figure out how to tie that in. So we're just gonna start doing some choppy, cutting the frame. I think this one's gonna work. So let's pull those bolts out and let's just see if we can get it to go in at all. So this is opposite, the JK is opposite of Toyota. So this one, they put on XJs. This one's from a JK, much different. It's exactly opposite. Which is
Exactly
what we
same,
need.
but opposite.
So I'm just gonna go from end to lockout to lockout. Ugh. Gross. So this must have sat outside and got some water in it.
Must have had Taco Tuesday.
We're gonna go round 2. Like, oh, this is Grandpa in the seat. So I think, Hillbilly, if we cut this piece off right here, then we can get that gearbox in and figure out exactly how to mount it. But I think it's gonna work, because that's gonna get us low enough and back enough that the pitman arm's gonna work. We might have to redo the drag link. You don't always need a JK box on your Bronco, but it helps. It does help. So we're gonna push the Bronco back, get the plasma cutter, hurry and cut that out so we don't start a humongous fire, but then we don't have to clean up, because the day's almost over. Whoa. I'm gonna kind of set this in and see what we think. All right, so we've got this all cut out and trimmed, and I think we're gonna get this JK gearbox to work. So Hillbilly's running over to Tractor Supply to get some tubing, because we're gonna make some sleeves for these bolts. These barn sleeves almost work. These are a little bit smaller. We're gonna get sleeves, and we're gonna actually weld the 2 bottom mounts underneath the frame. And I think that's gonna position the gearbox where we need it, and then we'll start to build everything around it. We haven't won, but we're getting there. And I think the JK box is gonna be our best answer for the problems that we have. And then we'll rebuild the tie rod, and this thing will steer. Then we're gonna be taking it over on Hanging Tree Trail. So Hillbilly just went to Tractor Supply. They didn't have any tubing, so tomorrow I'm gonna hit up one of the metal shops and I'm gonna get some, but for now, I'm off to go home, so it is tomorrow. Today, we're getting this JKU steering box installed in a Ford Bronco. But now, we need one of these. It's a little sloppy. What this is a bushing that we're gonna weld on the bottom side of the frame for the bolt to go through. We need it to be smaller. So we're gonna head over to a Tractor Supply store. It's called Hermanson's. We're gonna get us some metal and we'll be right back. All right, so we just got back from the tractor store and this is what we found. This has an exactly 7/16 bore, which this is a 7/16 bolt. This will work. The only problem is it's a little bit too short. So you can see that we need a bushing that long. Here's option number 1. Option number 2 is our Barnes 4-wheel drive bushing, which is the absolute perfect length. It's just a 9/16 bore. So what that means is that hole is a 9/16 hole. Perfect length. Little sloppy jalopy. Option number 3, we have 1/2-inch pipe. We just have 1/2-inch steel pipe. This is like 3/16 wall, 3/4 by 1/2-inch. So this is 1/8 wall. This is like 1/4 inch. All I know is we got small, big, and bigger. We've got this steel pipe. We can cut our bushing to length. It's still a little sloppy. So we've got 7/16, 1/2-inch, and 9/16 options. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go outside to the JK frame and we're gonna determine which one's gonna be our best option. So here we are, like trying to be super precise and like really, you know, get the correct size sleeve and make sure there's not too much slop.
I bet you that'll slide in it. Almost.
Almost. This should have been step 1. I shouldn't have even wasted my time going and buying these sleeves. I paid $75 for 6 of these, and I had these since last week from Barnes 4-wheel drive.
They're a lot tighter.
Yeah, this is less clearance than this. Look at that. Talk about, oh, whoa, they neck down. Oh yeah, so look at this. Okay, so the sleeves are bigger, but then the holes over here are smaller. So I wonder what we could do. What I think we could do is put a 7/16 washer here. Yeah. So it centers it up. That's what we're gonna do. Problem solved. And we get to use the big bushings from Barnes that are gonna be perfect. Come with me and you'll see just how we do the steering. I had the exact washers that we need. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cap these so that our bolt, so these washers are smaller than this. So we're gonna cap it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take these washers, we're gonna weld them right here on the end of each one so that it's slightly smaller. And that's what they did on the JK frame. They had a small piece of metal, which in turn is gonna become our washer, and it's gonna help line everything up. I'm gonna go to my bolt bin, so I'm gonna find a bolt long enough that I can put it through here, tighten up this washer to where I can weld it, and it stays right where I need. And then we're gonna go over and weld all these washers on, then we'll put them on the gearbox, and we're gonna get that gearbox up in place, and I'll show you how we're gonna do it. I'm not gonna burn them all in all the way, because all they are is to help center the bolt when it gets to the gearbox. The reason we're doing all this is because once we get the steering in it, we're gonna take the Bronco Star over to Hanging Tree Trail, and we're gonna see if the snow has melted and see if we can get any further up than we did the last time when we took the Bronco Star. You're gonna probably have to grind this down a little, hillbilly. So we found some metal that I think is gonna work. So we're gonna weld it on here and we're gonna go put it up underneath the frame and then tack it to the frame. That's gonna act as a spacer, and then we'll be able to get these sleeves in. We'll get the top sleeves through the frame, and then we're gonna reinforce everything all around our sleeves. So these sleeves are super critical, super important, and they need to be super, super strong. We're just gonna put it right in the center because, like I said, this is just gonna be a spacer. And then once we can get this in place, figure out these holes, cut them out, put the sleeves on, weld those sleeves, then we have all our bolts. So we're getting this figured out. This is gonna be the bottom of the frame. We're gonna have to do some trimming. I'm taking these back off. We're gonna put it up in there and tack it and get our marks and actually cut the bottom of the frame out to where we can get these sleeves in. But I think this is gonna work. So I had to trim this right here. Operation JK steering box in Ford engaged. Hitting?
No, I think I meant like the bolts on the bottom, like to lift it up higher, hitting type thing.
Oh yeah, we need to come back to about here. We got to go back like 2 inches.
But would that make it to where
the radiator's not gonna hit?
No, where the axle will hit the bottom of it, because there's more chrome showing than there's the gap.
All right, so we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna check the radiator though. See.
If anything, we'll probably have to move it towards the front of it more.
Now we're close.
We wouldn't be able to get the hose on though.
No, we wouldn't.
Can you just flip it around?
Hold on, no, we're close. We're figuring out what we need to do to make the radiator work with the gearbox, with all the things and such. So, the joys of custom fabrication. So we're gonna notch this back a little bit more, and we're gonna move the whole everything 2 inches towards the firewall. And then hopefully that's the ticket to our problem. Then we're going to lunch. That's what we have to accomplish in order to be fed. If we don't get it done, we don't eat. So what we're doing, Hillbilly's gonna jack this up, and then we're gonna use a chain binder or a chain along, and we're actually gonna compress this strut so that we know that the gearbox is gonna miss the axle. Because that's what our concern is now. It's gonna bottom out and hit right here. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna put a tack on it, and then we're gonna level it all up.
Try number what? 4?
Is it 4?
I don't know.
I think 4th time's the charm. Now that we've moved it forward and articulated this, we need a little bit more clearance. So we're gonna go up. And then I think we're gonna miss the radiator hose and the axle, and this gearbox will be right where we need it. This is not the most super ideal situation, but I've got the lower radiator hose on, I've got the gearbox where I need it. I believe that the steering is gonna work right here. We've got clearance up here. We can adapt our steering to it. We'll figure out power steering lines, but all I know is I am hangry. I've already sent Hillbilly to lunch, and I'm gonna go to lunch now.
Okay, I'm back from lunch before Robby, because he left a little bit after I did. But he told me to finish getting the gearbox mocked up. He already has the 2 bottom metal tubes welded in place. So now I just gotta cut 2 holes in the frame. There's one right here and one right here. I gotta cut them on the inside and the outside of the frame so the tube can slide right in with no problems. I won't be able to film doing it, so I'll get it done and then show you guys afterwards.
All right, so we've got the gearbox all mounted. We've got all 4 bolts coming through. So now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna pull it back out, get it all welded in. We're gonna start reinforcing that area. Actually, Hillbilly, you can let the chain along down, get the jack. We'll get this thing back on all 4 wheels and then pull that off and start reinforcing the 4 sleeves. We finally got it mounted. That's what we were after, is trying to get this JK steering box in the Ford Bronco. So before we go building a completely new drag link, we're only off by like a 1/2 inch. So this is, gearbox is bottomed out, axle's bottomed out, and I think we can make this fit. So we're gonna adjust this in, bolt it up, and then see if we can turn it both ways and get it to go lock to lock. We'll hurry and adjust it.
Tightening the tie rod ends of the drag link, so it'll shorten the length of the drag link, so it'll fit inside the pitman arm, so we don't have to build a new one. Hopefully that's what we're hoping for.
I think we're gonna get lucky on this. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I'll take luck. Now we just gotta hook up the steering column to the gearbox, and then we're gonna drive this over to the lift. We don't wanna do all the welding on the ground. All right, so this is the original JK steering W joint slider column thingy, and we're gonna mate this to the Bronco one. The Bronco one is stationary. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this one to length. We're gonna cut this off. We'll get it up in there. We can extendo it to length. Then we'll weld this solid. Actually, we probably don't need to weld this solid. That way, if we ever go to take it out, we can collapse it. We're just gonna cut this off, size it up, put that end, weld it on here solid. Then it'll connect the gearbox to the column.
So in order to modify the new steering column to work on the Bronco, we need this piece right here to where it'll bolt to the shaft of the steering wheel. So I'm just gonna cut these rivets because it's on this rubber joint. Instead of being a U-joint, it's a rubber joint, which they're garbage. I hate them. So I'm just cutting the rivets, get this piece so we can weld it on the new steering shaft. Now, I'll just hammer those out. Cut it off, got the rivets out of it. Now, we can just hold this right there. So that way we can get an exact measurement of what we need to cut off. So I think all we have to do is just take the universal joint off. Yep, that's all we have to do.
So we've figured some stuff out. This inner spline is basically the exact same size as the other. Look at that. We can dang near shove that in there, weld it. You know what we could do? Just take this off completely and just weld the splines to this, because the spline would fit in there. Okay, so that's gonna go there, and that stays on. All right.
That slip.
Yeah, good thing we sized it up. So now what we need to do is smash this to go down in there. We'll put this in the vise and make it square. Okay, that fits. So we're gonna undo the drag link real quick, and we're just gonna turn this and make sure it's in the right spot. And then we'll pull it out, fully weld it up, put it back in, and see if it's gonna work.
I like the power steering it has now.
Go.
Turns with ease.
Hold it. It's pretty dang straight. Hold it. Come back. Hold it. And no interference down here. Our U-joint works. This is gonna work. So we're gonna pull it out, finish welding it up, and install it to where we can move this thing. All right, so the steering's all welded. It is super hot. So we're gonna let it cool down for a second. I didn't weld it across the front because I don't want it to have a weak spot while it's turning. So I just welded it on the top, the bottom, on both sides, then left these ears unwelded.
Well, it'll work until it don't.
Yeah, well, it should work. I'll put this back in. So we're gonna get this installed. We're gonna get the drag link installed. We're gonna see if this thing will turn. It won't have power steering yet because we still have to build lines, but what our goal is to try to get it onto the lift. All right, so unpower steering assisted. We're gonna cycle the steering from side to side. So Hillbilly's gonna get in. We're gonna go all the way to the driver's side and then all the way to the passenger side and see if it's gonna work. Okay, go drivers all the way. Got all the way?
Yeah.
We will need to adjust the tie rod because we're not hitting the bump. We're not on the lockout, so we'll need to shorten it up just a hair more. Okay, let's go all the way passenger. We've got some minor issues. We can adjust those. At least it turns. It just doesn't turn a lot.
I think we got it adjusted. We just gotta check it again, make sure, but it feels like it's gonna be all good. Ready? There's bumped out.
Okay,
There's bumped out.
it's equal now. So it's got an inch before the bump stop now on both sides. So it's at least equal. My guess is it probably could use maybe an inch longer pitman arm. For now, this is perfect. We're not messing with it. He can actually turn it while he's sitting there and doesn't feel like the frame's gonna push off the axle. So what we'll do now is we're gonna hurry and get this belt off, power steering belt. We're gonna drive this thing over into the lift area. I think we need to do a high steering kit on this. I think that would help us get our pitman arm in the right spot, get our length correct. Maybe we should do a high steer kit next. If that doesn't work, we'll extend the pitman arm.
Yeah, because doesn't the high steer come like this and then so it comes up and kind of bends over so it's over in here somewhere?
I don't know. We've got the radiator just put in place. We've got the radiator hose on so it doesn't leak everywhere, and we took the belt off the power steering. So Hillbilly is now going to back up, put it on the lift, and then he's gonna go to town welding and bracing that frame where we cut it all out.
I thought you said the steering was better.
Well, it's not gonna be complete better until we have the power steering hooked up. But it's not as hard to turn as what it was.
But it's still really hard?
Oh yeah.
All right, so what we need to do now is get these all fully welded in, get them braced, get this thing strong, and then we need to do power steering lines. We've got a few more things to do, but not today. As always, we appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video, go check out this one.